members of the Board of Forestry. My name is Diane Dealey Neill. I am here representing the Forestry Challenge, a program that I started in 2003. We are here to give you a summary of 2024 activities, and we have special guests today, 4 teams of students who were the winners at the 4 different event locations that are going to be giving you a summary of their work in the field. So if we could get the slides up, that would be fantastic. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide. Today we're going to be talking about what is the Forestry Challenge. I'll give a brief description of our program. We're going to cover 2024 statistics, our year. I'll talk briefly about our emphasis on college and career, in careers in forestry, natural resources, and logging. We have 4 very brief student presentations, and then hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A. Next slide, please. So the Forestry Challenge is an academic competition for high school students in technical forestry and current forestry topics. It is basically an intensive field experience that is out in the forest. We stay at camps throughout the state. We have focused topics at each event, which are different at each event every year. So the students are involved in the active process of collecting data and analyzing the data, presenting their findings and their recommendations for active forest management. Next slide. The Forestry Challenge has 3 primary goals. Goal 1 is to teach students the basics of forestry. They've been in the classroom since they were in kindergarten, learning math and science, and this is their opportunity to connect those concepts and skills to the real world and apply them to the field of forestry. Next slide. Goal 2 is that career piece. We want them to meet as many foresters, natural resources professionals, and loggers as possible while they're out. They get a chance to interact with those folks and learn about their careers, their education, and it has inspired many of our alumni to pursue education and career in forestry. Example there is Deshane Stewart. He is getting ready to take the exam here pretty soon. He is one of our alums. Next slide. And our third goal is to provide the students an opportunity to come together and enjoy the outdoors and meet people from other schools. That's often one of the things they tell me is one of their favorite things is just interacting with students, like-minded people from other parts of other schools and other locations. And you can see some examples of some of the things that we do while we're at our events. Next slide. So to cover the 2024 fall event statistics, we did have a record year. We had 576 students at our events, at our 5 events this fall. Turns out 56% were female from 71 schools, 116 teachers and chaperones who then can take some of the materials that they're exposed to back to their classrooms for the rest of their students. We had 200 volunteers who donated over 2,700 hours of time and shared their expertise and their passion for forestry and natural resources with the students. Our in-kind value was a very significant number that we used to balance and cost share for our grants. We have 3 active grants at this time: wildfire prevention, workforce development, and a U.S. Forest Service Forest Stewardship Grant. We are very grateful to those grants that allow our program to offer these opportunities free of charge to the students and teachers. We have approximately 40 sponsors who round out our funding sources, and we did have a record number of teams. Out of our 141 teams that competed in the fall, 35 of them have qualified for the championship round, which will be late April in Pinecrest. You can see the chart on the right. The asterisks denote the events that we broke records at, including championships last spring. And our 2024 total, including championships, was 696 students. So next slide, please. And you can see this is kind of just a nice visual of the number of people that participated in our program. And keep in mind that these students are there for 4 days. So it is a very lengthy and intensive program for each one of these people that was participating this fall. Next slide. You can see our growth since 2003. In 2009, we started adding events, going from 1 all the way up now to 6. There is a slight dip in 2020 and 2021 when we were virtual in 2020. 2021 had travel restrictions for schools, so our events were small. But you can see if you project your line, we are growing. We have the capacity a little bit for more students, but we're reaching capacity at the events that we currently run. Next slide. So just some emphasis on college and career. We do give packets to the teachers to take back to their guidance offices, printed materials on colleges and careers. We, at the Shasta event, take the students out to the heavy equipment login operations program. They describe the program. The students have an opportunity to get into the cabs and see what that program is all about and what it would be like to run equipment for a living. We have university students that come and volunteer at our events. That's always a good way for the students that are in high school to talk to those who are in college to find out what they're doing. We raffle off items that colleges provide us, just swag that is things the kids like to have. We have a scholarship program. You can see Columbia College and Humboldt State, some of our recipients. We awarded 9 scholarships this past year to students who went through the program are now pursuing their education in forestry or natural resources. And we offer now a 1-unit course. Actually, it's through Feather River College. That is a mistake. Feather River College offers a introduction to field forestry work. It's a 1-unit course, and the students who attend our program have the opportunity to get credit for their work. The photo on the bottom are 4 of our alumni who are now pursuing educations in forestry. They all had summer jobs in my area, so we got together and had dinner last summer, and it was just great to see these young professionals, these people who are going to be entering our workforce. You will see them someday, you know, in this field. So I'm very proud of those students. Next slide. So we do, again, want to emphasize our college and career resources. We have job board on our website. We have a college and career e-newsletter that goes out to several hundred people. We have a interactive map that shows educational programs, videos, a video on how to apply for college. We also do a virtual college fair in the spring where we invite representatives from those forestry programs to interact with the students and just let the students talk to those folks and learn about those programs. Next slide. So we do have presentations today coming from 4 schools that went to the 4 different event locations. First up will be Grant Union High School. You can see the blue star. They are from Sacramento. They were the winners at the Shasta event. We have Woodside High School telling you a little bit about what they did at Santa Cruz. We'll have Forest Hill High School describing activities and field work at El Dorado. And then lastly, we have Charter Oak High School representing San Bernardino. Grant Union and Charter Oak are here today in person. Forest Hill and Woodside should be joining us remotely. So next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the team from Grant High School to talk about the Shasta Forestry Challenge.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are Grant Union High School. My name is Simon Brito. I'm currently a senior. For my future plans, I hope to go to Princeton University and pursue a major in bio.
Hello, everybody. I am Jose Morales. I am as well a senior in the same school. And I plan to attend Columbia University in the fall under medical humanities.
My name is Melanie Navarrete, and I plan on pursuing an education in aerospace engineering at a private institution.
My name is Brandon. I am a senior and I plan to study mechanical engineering at a 4-year institution.
Next slide. So for our focus topic, it's the Garrison Ranch Harvest Evaluation. We evaluated the timber harvest potential at Garrison's Ranch, and currently based off of market data and operating within the existing modified timber harvest plan, our assessment protected the landowner's net income based on our recommended harvest volume. Notably, the modified timber harvest plan was written by the landowner, which is an RPF and an LTL, initially approved for 5 years and was now extended for another 2 years because of the market saturation from burned timber. With mills previously unable to accept green timber, so now the owner faces the time-sensitive harvest windows. Consequently, his original plan was to self-perform the harvest and is no longer feasible. We are now reassessing harvest levels and species mix to ensure cost coverage, including logging, hauling, and yield taxes.
Next slide. So the RPF wants to focus his harvest on incense cedar, white fir, and the defective sugar pine. And fortunately, the stand is heavy to incense cedar. So on the table to the top right, you can see that there's a minor slowdown in growth rates that shows a need for harvest.
The stand is not evenly dispersed. Group selection is a good silviculture method so denser areas can be harvested. This harvest can remove the high percentage of sugar pine with defect, and with that we plan to send it to a local mill which we can be able to utilize all our resources. Next slide, please.
And on this slide, we can see the profit loss analysis for the harvested acreage. There's a little chart showing the log value for each of the species in the allotted 14 acres available due to the 20% of the total acreage, I guess, law. And we can see that there is a net profit, and we want to use that net profit to provide funding paired with the California Forest Improvement Program in order to meet the landowners' objectives, such as ownership stability for this family forest, reducing wildfire danger, improving soil and other ecosystem services through efforts like mastication. And it's important to note that on January 6th, CFIP announced receiving $5 million through the Federal Inflation Reduction Act, which will increase the chance of this property having assistance through CFIP. Next slide. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
So next up, we have a school joining remotely. It is Woodside High School from Woodside, California in San Mateo County. So if you could advance the slide and hopefully we can bring those students on.
Hello, everyone. We're Team 9 from Woodside High School in Redwood City, California, and our school has attended the Santa Cruz Challenge starting in 2007. My name's Evan. I am a senior, and I plan to go into medical after high school.
My name is Jenny. I'm a senior, and I plan to go into creative writing.
My name is Jaffa. I'm a sophomore, and I plan to study biology when I'm older.
And I'm Hannah. I'm a junior, and I plan to study marine science after high school.
Next slide, please. Our focus topic was the habitat resiliency at Pescadero Creek County Park. After we determined the forest type and the plot we were given, we made a plan aligned with the goals of the CHRP of the park. We recommended a treatment to promote the development of old growth habitats which are observed in late successional stands. The ARC wrote the CHRP, and we were able to meet and work with the staff of the ARC during the event, including the primary author, Riley McFarland, who we also want to congratulate for passing the RPF exam.
All right. Next slide, please. Right. The data that we collected from the challenge was 123 trees per acre on average, with a board feet volume of 55,567. An area of 403 square feet per acre using DBH and 393 square feet per acre using an angle gauge. The stand was mostly coastal redwood dominant, with young Douglas firs and the primary hardwood species being tan oak. This high volume and low number of trees inhibits the development of old growth that we want. And so we also wanted to note that the volume calculations are only for conifers, since they are the ones to be harvested. The site that we collected data from has not been managed at all, but we were given data from a different stand from a cruise in the 2019 Forestry Challenge.
Next slide, please. So we were given two different plans to choose between for our proposed solution: the Forest Fire Prevention Exemption Plan, which we know is now called the Forest Resilience Exemption, and the Timber Harvest Plan. Our team decided that we would start with the Forest Fire Prevention Exemption because it allowed us to get things going a lot quicker to help start up the management of this forest. So we decided that we would cut 20% of the redwoods with a DBH of 12 inches to 24 inches. Then we decided that we wanted to continue to monitor and recollect the same data every 3 to 5 years in order to fully understand how the forest is changing and how we can better manage it.
We plan to first use the forest resilience exemption because it was quicker to implement, and we would still be able to harvest enough trees even with the diameter and TPA constraints of the forest resilience exemption to have a tangible improvement on stand management. We plan to transition into a timber harvest plan for more long-term management based on the data collection that we would do in the forest resilience exemption. And because this is in a public county park with regular usage, positive public perception of the project is really important. So once the public observes the benefits of better management with the forest resilience exemption, the transition into a longer-term timber harvest plan will be smoother.
Next slide, please.
Thank you so much for your time. We especially want to thank all of the professionals who were involved in helping us at the challenge, and Diane for organizing the challenge itself.
We once again wanted to congratulate Riley on becoming a registered professional forester. Thank you.
Thank you, Woodside High School. Well done. Okay, so next we are going to try to bring up Forest Hill High School. And I know they're having some technical difficulties. I don't know if we've been able to identify them on in your audience list.
What did they say? What name?
No. And so,
Zoe's raised her hand. Hold on one moment.
oh yes, that is Zoe Ordway. So we can go to the next slide and then we'll be able to be heard and they can give their
Zoe,
presentation.
you can unmute yourself. I'm sorry, I just talked over you.
Oh no, you're totally fine. I just wanted to make sure you guys
Okay,
could hear me.
back at it.
So hi everyone, we are Team 12 from Forest Hill and we competed at the Eldorado Forestry Challenge in October of 2024.
Hi, my name is Caden Deal. I am a junior. After high school, I plan to become a high school teacher.
My name is Payne Kuos, and I'm a senior. After high school, I plan to become a firefighter for CAL FIRE.
My name is Zoe Ordway and I am also a senior. And after high school, I am planning on attending a 4-year university to major in agricultural systems management.
My name is Olivia and I'm a freshman. After high school, I plan on attending nursing school.
At the competition we attended,
Next slide, please.
At the competition we attended, we were tasked with collecting data at the American River Conservancy, Wells Preserve near Somerset, California. We used data to assess the health of the preserve and recommend actions to restore its ecological function. The action plan that we created will help to contribute to the health of the Consumnes River watershed.
When we completed the cruise to collect data, there were many challenges that we faced. The preserve had extremely dense stands as well as rough terrain and poison oak, making it difficult to navigate. Thankfully, we were able to complete our cruise with only a few people getting poison oak.
Next slide, please.
We have estimated an average of 75 trees per acre that are of 10 inches DBH or larger, most ranging from 10 to 24 inches. There was also a high number of small trees under 10 inches DBH per acre. The average basal area was 142 square feet per acre. A healthy basal area is typically between 80 to 120 square feet per acre. By this, we can already deduce that the area is overgrown. We had an average of 4.35 feet height of ground cover, which multiplied by 4, considering how high fires can reach, we get 17.4 feet. This is under the 18-foot average canopy height. However, this is very unsafe due to the steep terrain at the preserve, leaving very little space between ground and canopy. We also took data on snag trees. There were about 8 snags per acre, which is a lot higher than what would be preferred. This would also add a lot of fuel to potential fires.
Next slide, please. After analyzing this data, we concluded that the ARC Wells Preserve is in dire need of restoration. In our management action plan, we chose to utilize the Forest Fire Prevention Exemption 1038.3 that was available for this preserve. While there were major limitations placed upon the methods of management for the preserve that prevented us from doing commercial logging, the Forest Fire Prevention Exemption will allow us to log certain trees in order to help prevent the spread of a large wildfire.
However, in order to log trees on the property, we have to follow certain guidelines outlined in the exemption. We must have a RPF to oversee the project, as well as ensure that we leave a minimum of 100 trees per acre that are greater than 4 inches DBH.
We must also ensure that the stump height is at least 30 inches or below, and we are not allowed to operate within any significant archaeological sites. This exemption will be effective for 1 year.
Through this exemption, we plan to remove larger trees and reduce the horizontal fuel, especially in the canopy. Due to the extensive fuels reduction that is needed, we will require a large amount of funding in order to implement management. Therefore, we recommend seeking grants and other funding to treat lighter fuels using multiple methods such as mastication, hand cutting, pile burning, and chipping.
In conclusion, the ARC Wells Preserve is in desperate need of restoration and management, and we believe that our plan accurately takes into account the topography of the area as well as the data we collected in the field. Next slide, please. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, don't.
What?
Okay, thank you very much, Forest Hill High School. Great job. We have one more presentation representing our San Bernardino program, and that is our group from Charter Oak High School.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Aaron Flores. I'm a junior in high school, and I am interested and have been looking at Oregon State and perhaps pursuing a career in forestry or somewhere in Cal Fire.
And my name is Ty Linger. I'm also a junior in high school, and I'm looking at either San Luis Obispo or Oregon State to also pursue forestry. And then could we get next slide, please? For our focus topic, we had the mixed conifer oak woodland forest restoration at the Hubert Eaton Scout Reservation. A little background on that property. It's about 2,000 acres. And in 2003, we had the old fire. It came through and wiped out almost all of the vegetation in the property. And then another fire in 2007, the slide fire, pretty much finished everything off.
And before these fires, it used to be predominantly pine dominant. It was a mixed conifer woodland type. The whole property, the area had mostly pines, but also had coulter pines and other oaks. But when the fires came, the pines were mainly wiped out, and the oaks were the trees that dominated because they have the ability to grow off of their stumps and they don't need to regrow their entire root system. So they ended up dominating after the fires.
Next slide, please.
Now, this is our data summary that we collected. Now, it's important to note while the basal area and the trees per acre is extremely high, it's not necessarily too high for that area because the trees were planted on the best sites of the property next to the water courses and the best soil that's deep and good for the roots of that area.
Yeah, so our plots were in like the golden area for vegetation growth. So we saw a lot more denser compared to if you went up to the top parts of the property there, it would have been more barren because there's a lack of water and all of those factors. And then looking at the pie chart in the top right, it's further showing how our forests were predominantly hardwood, which are the oaks. And then another thing is the incense cedars, and they came through underneath the oaks because they can grow in suppressed state. So those were the two main species. And then we see coulter pines. And one of the goals we want to have is to restore the coulter pines and like nourish them because they're pretty unique to the area.
And again, our main focus for this project is to restore the mixed oak woodland forest. And some important factors to consider when trying to do that is the soil of the land and the weather, which we'll get into later. And it's important to look at the topography, the terrain of the land, because we can't go in if it's too deep, too steep. And also our planting composition, how we'll plant the trees and where we'll put the seeds and the spacing of the seeds that we plant.
For topography, we'll go over it more. It really just dictates what methods we can go in to mitigate the brush to allow these trees to grow. And then for soils, like we said, the soils next to the watercourses were good for the trees. And then that'll also dictate what we can go in and do for our procedures. And then another thing that's not on there is weather. This big thing right now, we have Santa Ana winds down currently, and that's what started LA fires. So we're seeing those right now. And that's actually what fueled these large fires that wiped out the area. So we just got to keep those in mind when we're going through and re-establishing this forest. Next slide, please.
It's important to look at how we're going to prep the site in order to restore the forest. And we have a quote by Registered for Henry Herrera. It states, "Without fire, mimic fire."
Yeah. So what that means is in those plots that grew back very quick, they're overgrown. So we need to go through and mimic what the fire did and bring that vegetation down in order to reduce the competition for these mixed conifers that we want to bring back.
And it's important to prep the site accordingly. And as you can see in our flow chart, one of the biggest factors we will look at is the grade of the slope. If the slope is low and the topography is good, it's not too steep of a terrain, we'll go in with a masticator and later do prescribed burns. And if it's too high, we'll send in the hand crews.
And then these hand crews can either chip the wood or pile it and then have more prescribed burns. So there's options with that. And then can we get the next slide, please?
So it's important to follow up in a timely manner after our site prep in order to be able to continue not just restore the forest once, but to maintain it. And the timely manner would normally be around 3 to 5 years, but it can vary.
Yeah, so like you said, the vegetation might be back in 2 years, so you'll have to go through. It all depends on how the forest is acting, like the water, how much rain you're getting. It's all, so you'll go back consistently, but we predict 3 to 5 years. And then if it's overgrown, you go in with hand crews because there's not enough mass for masticators to come in. There's not that much stuff to chop through. And then we'll look at if it's windy, like because of the Santa Ana winds. If it's windy, then we'll just hand pile the stuff. If not, we're looking if it's next to one of those water courses. And if it's not, then we'll spray some herbicides. However, if it is, we'll hand pile those too. And then eventually, once it's burn season, when there's snow on the ground and it's nice and cool, so that we don't start a wildfire, we'll go in through and burn those.
These are the options we have listed right here, but it's important to consider a variety of options when going through and following up our site prep.
Yeah, exactly. So just because this is the only thing on the board, this is just a suggestion from what we saw. But yeah, you can go through with whatever you feel. It's all subjective at the end of the day. It's a forest. It's in a permanent state of change. You good?
Yeah.
Next slide.
Next slide, please. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, well, this was quite ambitious to try to get the 4 groups to come in and talk about their topics. You can see the variety of topics that the students address each year that are timely and current. We provide that data to the landowners so that they can be informed when they move forward to make decisions about management. So with that, I appreciate your time and patience. I'm super proud of these students. All of these teams will be at the championship event at the end of April. It's going to be quite a showdown. It's going to be an intense competition, but they're all pretty amazing, and you can, I'm sure you agree with me, their level of knowledge is incredible for the age that they are. So if you have any questions at this time, please ask, and then we'll be finished.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all 4 teams for your excellent presentations. And Ms. Neal, I'd like to thank you for the work that you're doing. It's really very impressive. The presentations were impressive. Clearly, the students have learned a lot. And what we've heard is that some of them are considering professions in forestry. And of course, we need more foresters in the state of California. So I'm really impressed with the work that you and the people who work with you have done. Do you have any plans for expanding the program? Because it seems to me that this is really an excellent program. It's excellent for the students to be exposed to the outdoors and issues pertaining to our environment and ecosystems, regardless of whether they eventually become, get a job in forestry or not. And it's highly beneficial to the state of California, I think, to expose students to these sorts of issues. So do you have plans, and are there things the state of California could do to help you expand the program?
Yes, so many questions. Thank you so much. Yes, we could expand. We have a staff of 3, and I want to shout out to them, the 2 that are in my office with me daily, do amazing work. We work hard. We would need a little more capacity to be able to expand the program. We have some interest in other parts of the state. So we do rely on our grants from CAL FIRE, which are extremely important to us, as well as our other funding sources. And we will be looking to apply for another round of workforce development grant funding in a few months, and hopefully be able to expand a bit and expand our capacity so we can deliver even more programs. It is a finite, because we're in the state of California, but truly infinite with the numbers of high school students out there that are interested in this type of thing and are wanting to come and participate and learn. And you're right, the level of expertise, the level of knowledge these kids have is quite impressive. So yes.
Well, thank you for that, and I encourage you to ask CAL FIRE for more money. So
I wanted to add to that. That was amazing presentation from all of you guys. If there's any way we can help to expand this, or maybe talk afterwards, any way we can help, I think we should increase this efforts. You're doing an amazing job.
Yeah, I just want to echo what everybody else said. You guys did a great job. Congratulations on moving on to the next round. And really encourage you to think hard about getting into the forestry workforce. We are in great need of young people to get into the industry. So congratulations.
I'll echo the same thing. Diane, excellent work. Congratulations to all the students. Really impressive work. I think some of you are actually ready for hire right now. Really good stuff. For those of you contemplating, where to go to forestry school in California, I hear really great things about Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I have a couple questions. If anyone is willing to answer this, I know a handful of you aren't planning to go into forestry. I do hope that you stay in California and you continue your careers in California. Even if you leave the state, I hope you come back. But I'm curious, from this experience, is there anything that you're going to take with you, whether you stay in forestry or not, that you felt like you got out of this experience that's going to inform kind of what you do next? Was there any skill set? And really question to just anyone who's willing to answer.
It's a little funny you asked that, because just a couple hours ago, my teacher asked me a similar question. And I feel like the skills and mentality you learn with the forestry challenge is that the environment is never a one-step, one-person solution. You learn that there's so many I guess confounding variables when it comes to a solution that's truly better for the environment. You have to work with policymakers, registered foresters, and actual landowners. So the solution to any forward progress relating to our environment has to come down to how people can cooperate and work together for those solutions. So yeah.
Beautifully said. Thank you.
Well, a couple of points. One is guidance is very important. I was driving one time and I saw this sign that says, "I touch the future because I teach." And then you do that. We see right here, we are all temporary, but we see that you guys can take over in no time for us. And that's what we should do. We have a renewable resource, which is a forest, but also we have a new renewable resource with you. One thing that I'm very impressed, but also encourage you, is that you have a voice. and you had the attention of all of us right here and all the people in line and everybody in this room. So you have a voice, use it, it's yours. Help us spread the message. One of your slides said that one of the big challenges is the education of the people about forest management. Your help is highly needed, especially with your peers, people growing with you, people that know your fire and your and not pun intended, and your energy that you have to do something like this. Very impressed. As not only the knowledge side is there, but the human side and your evolution side. So congratulations. I don't remember, probably at your age, I was just playing basketball somewhere. But you guys are doing fantastic work. So use your voice.
Just one last shout out. You mentioned teachers, and I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the two teachers that brought these teams today. Mr. Aaron White from Grant High School in the back of the room, and Mr. Ray Edmondson from Charter Oak High School. I do appreciate, without the teachers organizing this and recruiting the students and taking the time to write lesson plans and be gone and bring those students, this would not happen. So they are truly the foundation of the success of this program, of making it happen. Thank you so much. We have to get these students back to school. So we're going to go ahead and take off now, but thank you so much for your time and your attention.
Yes, thank you so much. And a shout out to the teachers, absolutely.